A lot of people take the idea of freedom in speech and run with it. They believe that with that, they are at liberty to say whatever without caring or being concerned about who it may affect. The rise of social media platforms in the 21st century, however, has widely changed the speed and breadth in which such disinformation can be spread. The traditional gatekeepers of news, like mainstream newspapers, television channels, and radio stations, that generally attempt to produce the fact to fiction and vet out information using rigorous journalistic methods are absent on these platforms, and anyone with access to the internet has the opportunity to post inflammatory, untrue, exaggerated, manipulated, hateful, and extremist content. In doing so, they reach enormous crowds. This information was provided by the Lone Star College Research Database. Today, I would like to convince you that social media needs a stricter policy when it comes to being able to post things online. Historically speaking, media sites and applications are a wholly new phenomenon. The internet came into being in the early 1990s, and appearance of social networking allowed people all over the world to connect with each other. In 2004, Mark Zuckerberg, a student at Harvard University, created Facebook, and over the next 15 years, a bevy of social media sites have been introduced, such as Instagram, Reddit, Tumblr, WhatsApp, and YouTube, connecting millions of people around the globe. By 2019, approximately 72% of U.S. adults were using social medias, according to the Pew Research Center. That is 5%. That is compared to 5% in 2005. Political figures across the globe have grown increasingly savvy with using social media to mold public opinion, spread message, and the authority of countries silence opponents. A study published in Science magazine in 2018, for example, found that fake news and misinformation is spread more quickly on Twitter than factual information and content. Disinformation and extremists online can subvert the democratic process and lead to real world tragedies. Often, disinformation comes in the guise of websites that seem like they may be valid, but they are only made to look that way. As more and more people use sites like Facebook, Twitter, many argue that the quality of the information highlighted there is more important than the factual information, because while the prevalence of disinformation, extortion, and hate speech may pose a significant challenge for modern day disclosure, supporters of social media are doing more to combat disinformation and extremists on their platforms, but too often they argue that the fake news and hate speech online have real world, detrimental, and sometimes tragic consequences. In some cases, law enforcement have raided the homes of these users because of the things that they have posted online. Social media companies can implement concrete changes to combat disinformation, and supporters maintain, and they should not wait for more real life tragedies to happen before taking more aggressive steps over their platforms. Commenters often frame the debate over misinformation and extremism on social media platforms as a free speech issue. But the First Amendment Constitution, which prohibits the government from abridging the freedom of speech, only applies to the government. Indeed, social media companies have no constitutional responsibility to protect the free speech of the users on their platforms. They can censor or ban content as they wish, but they totally have no control. Furthermore, as private companies, enterprises like Facebook and Twitter have free speech rights themselves and have no First Amendment duty to promote any one message. Companies like Facebook and Twitter, under the Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, a law passed by Congress that protects internet businesses from being held liable from what their users post online. At present, free speech law ensures that platforms own freedom of expressions and associations. Noah Freedom, a scholar at constitutional law, wrote in the New York Times. Following these incidents, social media platforms have taken more aggressive steps to combat hate speech and